Hello children, welcome to our English tele-teaching class. So children, we are again here with a very beautiful and interesting story from your chapter, from your English book. Okay, so children, but before entering the story, definitely I just want to show you some pictures that will surprise for you. So let's have a look. Yes children, these are some photos I have kept for you. So please have a look on your screen. That the first photo shows a black cat, yes or no? The second photo shows that the bird, your Minas, and the third photo that lemon with some chilies, and the fourth photo shows you what? That the pieces of some broken glasses. So children, do you remember anything by seeing these pictures, these photos? Yes, I know. तुमर निश्चित भाव जाने किसी देखी तुम्हें मन पड़ुथबो that from your childhood experience. Yes or no? That black cat, what? When we are going on a way, if a black cat is a crossing, that means we have to stop there on the road. Yes or no? Then the second photo shows what? That unless and until we will see that the pair of minas, yes or no? Then and there only we can move. Otherwise, we just stop there. And we are thinking that our mind became clouded with what? Some bad thoughts. Then the third photo you can see children, that lemon with some chilies, yes or no? And you used to see that some shopkeepers, they used to hang in the main entrance of the shops. For what? To avoid the jealousy eyes of the people and to make more profit, I think. Yes and no? Then the fourth photo you can see on your screen children, that broken pieces of glass. That means this is also that making fear in your heart, in your mind, that is something will gonna what? Bad. Okay. So these are some beliefs that we do. Definitely I do, you do, and all people used to do. Yes or no? So you can see these are the blind beliefs or beliefs, or you can say in other words, what? Superstitions. So children, superstitions, what are they? Superstitions are some kind of a beliefs. That means there will be no space for doubts to believe. Okay, that means this you can say completely blind belief or misbeliefs, or you can say superstitions. So children, as you know that India is a very fascinating country. It's always facing constant changes in all the factors. But there are many factors are changing. But some superstitions, some blind beliefs, some what is that? Backward thinking you can say. आज भी से आमो संगे प्रिवेल है कि चली चे आमो संगे संगे रही चे तुम्हें जिते भी एजुकेटेड होना कहीं कि ना पिला माने बहुत सारा ब्लाइंड बिलीव्स एबे भी आमो भितर कौन करी ची कोट ना कोड़ी लुच्ची की रही चे that we are believing. So children, and today why I am saying all this to you? Because the similar kind of a story we are going to read from your English book, that is the Trunk of Ganesha by Jayant Mahapatra. Okay children, so see, so today's topic is that the Trunk of Ganesha by Jayant Mahapatra. So before entering your story, that the matter, definitely we have to keep some ideas, some knowledge about the writer. So just read me aloud this writers, I mean to say your about the writer. Then definitely you please make a note that will help you in your future to give you some views. Okay. So Jayant Mahapatra, born on 22nd October 1928, is an Indian English poet. He is the first Indian poet to win a Sahitya Academy Award for English poetry. He is the author of poems such as Indian Summer and Hunger, which are regarded as classics in modern Indian English literature. He was awarded a Padma Shri, the fourth highest civilian honor in India in 2009. So, early life and education, born into a prominent Oriya Christian family, Mahapatra went to Stott School in Kataka, Odisha. He completed his Master in Science and Physics from Patna University, Bihar. Okay children, you are getting my point? Then his awards, recognitions and legacy. Just please you have to note it down. टिके टिके तुम मैंने ideas दरकार तुम मानको पाई क्या से मानको विषय में जानिबा definitely. So in 1981 Jayant Mahapatra won a Sahitya Academy Award for his book. What's that? Relationships. He received the Sark Literary Award New Delhi in 2009. He was conferred with a Padma Shri in 2009 and awarded an honorary doctorate by Ravenshaw University on 2nd May 2009. He was also awarded Doctor in Literature degree by Utkal University, Odisha in which year? 2006. So some poetry or translation, children, you can say some creations, creativities that of your Jayant Mahapatra. Let's have a look. In 1993, Boli, the victim. In 1995, Kahibi Gotiye Kotha. Okay. Then in 97, Asila Tankaro Baya Raja. Then in 2004, okay children, have a look. Tikiye Chai. Then in 2006 re Chali, you mean to say walk him. Then some kind of item just like a translation, he has already made that into English. Just like I can, but why should I? Okay. This is in 1994. Then in 2003, A Time of Rising. It's a collection of poems. Then books by Jayant Mahapatra. You please give a look on your screen. Poetry in 1971, Close the Sky 10 by 10. Then in 1980, Relationship, as I have told from before. Then some prose collection. You please see The Green Gardener. Or this is the short stories you can say. In 2011, Vor, Paschima, Moitro Kanafulo. Like this. So children, let's start today's topic. So first read me aloud. First let me read aloud. Then we will understand it. We will discuss it. Okay. So let's have a look. It was just one of those days when nothing seemed to go right for Govinda Maharana. Once again, there was this unhappy incident which kept bothering him. At sunrise, he finished his bath in the courtyard and took a glass of tea from his wife's hand. His fingers suddenly slackened and the glass slipped from his hand. It was his first conscious knowledge of the fear he carried. The superstition haunted him throughout his life. This day, there was a special reason for his gloomy, tense manner, for it was the third day in succession that such a thing had happened. Govinda had learned the trade from his father, as had his father from his father's father. The substance of the art of idol making. What? The Durgas, Ganeshas and the Shivas. So children, as I have told you in before videos also, children, these are the words that I have a bold in yellow color marked bold korichi. So these are, I think that these are the new words for you. So I must mention that this vocabulary, okay, that means you have to develop your vocabulary by knowing the meaning of these words, so that you will understand the text and also you can use the same word in other fields also. Perhaps I have no right, he told his wife, to meddle with the private lives of gods. That is why they are angry. Perhaps I have been of late using my powers too carelessly, and the icons I have been making are not exactly those my father would have made in his time. Okay children, so these are the word notes. I told you that these words, I think these are the little bit difficult for you, so you have to know the meaning so that it will be a helpful one for you to understand the text. So slacken, what does it mean? Reduce or decrease in speed. Then superstition, blind belief. Okay children, jahaku ame odia re andha vishwas boli ame kahi pariba. ठीक अछि, that superstition has no evidence children, but it stays with us. Then gloomy, dark, or you can say poorly lit. Then succession, what does it mean? A number of people or things of a similar kind of following one after the other. Okay children, then the word come what? Meddle. What do you mean by meddle? interfere in something that is not one's concern. Okay? So children, let's have a look on your screen. Key points. Govinda is a skilled idol maker. Okay? Govinda Maharana. Jahan ko bisara mein poduchu story ti. He had learned this skill from his father, who has learned from his father. Okay? That means this is the profession, is a going on process. Okay? Means one person to another person, means from father to father. The breaking of the trunk of Ganesha was the unhappy incident that kept bothering Govinda Maharana. So you know now, right now you just know that what was the incident? What? The breaking of the trunk of Ganesha. Okay children? Next point dekho. For that, Govinda Maharana was in tents for the third day in succession. Okay? Then, the glass of a tea slipped from Govinda Maharana's hand. Why? Because his fingers suddenly slackened. As a fortune believer, Govinda Maharana was always hunted with the superstition throughout his life. That means, children, that particular person, Govinda Maharana, was always centered around the superstition, blind beliefs like all those. Yes or no? According to him, he meddled with the private lives of gods because he said that the icons he had been making were not exactly those his father would have made in his time. That means there Govinda Maharana is thinking that I have already interfering with the private lives of God, as he is thinking that what? That the icons he had been making, okay, that were not exactly similar that as his father was making. So these are the bad thoughts jahata मन भितर कौन होतला गोड़े घंटे होतला. Then Sulochana looked at her husband with frightened eyes. Perhaps he was right, she thought, but maybe he was growing older and his hands and eyesight were not as strong as before. You must be tired walking without a break, she said, her words betraying her simplicity. You know what day it is? He studied her for a moment and continued, and I am already late on the large Ganesha. Okay? What had gone wrong? He couldn't understand. Making an image was a child's play for him. Only in this case, the idol was somewhat larger than most. The trunk a little heavier, a trifle longer, that was all. Perhaps the clay he had been using was just that measure short of its adhesive quality. Children, not to worry. You just see these new words. Later, I will explain all these words in your word notes. So, definitely you can understand the text. Okay. So, adhesive quality which makes for a smooth, tight binding. But it was the same clay he had been using for years. For innumerable images he had perfected and sold. Then why the sudden turn and the point where the elephant trunk took a turn and swung gently downward? Was the weight too heavy for the clay mold of image's face to support it? Sulochana didn't want to question him about his work, for she knew that he was one of the best image makers in that whole valley. Govinda Maharana's images, it's hard to find better work than his. She had heard the townsfolk often say. He was one of the few excellent craftsmen left, and she nursed her pride in secret. And yet some inner voice hammered at her. Was it because he had asked for a better price, a rather exorbitant one, than what was considered reasonable for an image of that size? She was convinced that her husband was a writer's man, but wasn't it possible that his seeming greed had angered the unknown? In your bracket, children, you just see the word surmise. Okay, children, these are the yellow marked bold words for you. These are the new words. So, here are the word notes. तुम्हें मैंने देखो पिला मैंने बुझिबो निश्चित रूप से जानि परिबो स्टोरी डी ए सब शब्दर माने बुझी गला परे. So what do you mean by trifle? Trifle means a thing of little value or importance. Are you getting my point? ओके देन एडिशिव क्वालिटी पे तुम जानते ना आम जो अठा यूज करूँ जो आम आम जो एडिशिव आम यूज करूँ जो स्टिकीनेस जो जिन आम चिपकेवा ओके दिस इज कॉल्ड योर एडिशिव क्वालिटी तार क्वालिटी केमिति दैट क्वालिटी ऑफ द स्टिकीनेस ओके देन योर वर्ड कम्स इन्यूमरेबल too many to be counted or you can say countless. Then the next word is townsfolk, another term for townspeople. Next word children, exorbitant. Yes, definitely it's a new word for you. It means much higher or much more expensive. जहाँ को हमें कौन को पिला मैंने बहुत ही दामी के मूल्यवान. So then it is reasonable. It's mean just. Okay. Then is your righteous, morally right or justifiable. Then your surmise. What do you mean by surmise? Surmise means guess kariba. Okay. So children, here are the key points for that paragraph that I have just read for you. So Sulochana, who is the Sulochana? Sulochana was wife of Govinda Maharana. Okay, and Govinda Maharana ki? Govinda Maharana was the idol maker. So Sulochana, wife of Govinda Maharana, was disturbed with some thoughts. Why? Let's see. She looked at her husband with a panic-stricken eyes, which forced her to think that it could be because her husband was growing older and his hands and eyesight had become weaker. He could not understand why he was troublesome in making idols and made the trunk of idol Ganesha little heavier and truffle longer. That here Sulochana is not getting the point that why is this happening? Okay, why this is mishappening is every time with him, I mean say this time. दैट सब तो सुंदर से आइडल तैयारी करते बिक्री हुए तबे एथर को कौन असुविधा हो जाउछे तो सतरे कौन से बुढ़ा हो जाइछुंचे डे बाय डे दैट ही बिकम वीकर okay he become older so that the what that your tea glass slipped from his hand. So Govinda Maharana doubted about the clay used for making the idol of Ganesha. Okay children, during the time of making these idols, generally this people, idol maker, they used to use kind of a adhesive. Okay, so this time also Govinda Maharana, what? Using the same clay. But here he is doubting what? The clay used for making the idol of Ganesha, that it had a major short of its adhesive quality. He was in great confusion that he had been using the same clay for countless images he had perfected and sold. But this time he couldn't find the reason why the trunk of Ganesha swung gently downward. He thought maybe the weight was too heavy for the clay mold of the idol's face to support it. Wife Sulochana didn't want to question her husband Govind for his work because she completely knew his ability and fame behind making idols, as he was one of the best image maker in the whole valley, which made her proud of him. She also speculated perhaps her husband's charging much more expensive price for idols might have made such a sorry state. She was convinced that her husband was a righteous man, but it was not possible for her to accept that his greed had angered the unknown. So, the 61-year-old Govinda had a large family to support. His included a son who had a wife and 2 children. He had turned out to be an irresponsible drifter who spent his days away from the house fishing idly for shrimp and carp in the Mahanadi. The second son had been taken in as an apprentice in a paper mill. There remained only the youngest, a mere 13-year-old. Out of 3, he alone showed promise of taking up the ancestral profession, thus restoring a measure of calm to the father's mind. In all these years, this experience of his was a new one. A feeling of being alone in a ravenous darkness. All his thinking brought Govinda to the inescapable conclusion that there was an element of the supernatural in the mysterious breaking of the image. But what had he done to deserve this? His life was ordered, restrained, so where could he have gone wrong? True, that a subtle change had come about in the designing of the clay figures, in the eye-catching new apparel, and in the shades of luminous paint he was using these days. But he hadn't gone about making the changes on his own. They had wanted their gods to be more in tune with the times. Gradually, therefore, he had endowed the goddess with slim and curved bodies. What not, children? Let's have a look. What do you mean by drifter? A person who is continually moving from place to place without any fixed home or job. Shrimp? You know, children, what is shrimp? A small free swimming aquatic group of lobster पिलाने जो चिंगुड़ी माछ को ना हमें माने कोई परिवार shrimp. And what is carp? It's a large freshwater fish. What do you mean by ancestral? Relating to members of your family from the past. Okay. Then supernatural, it means attributed to some force beyond scientific understanding or the laws of nature, you can say. And what do you mean by mysterious? Suspenseful. Okay. Rahasyamoy jaha kame koiba. Then restrain, it means controlled or tolerant, you can say. What do you mean by subtle? Making use of a clever, indirect methods to achieve something. Okay, are you understanding? I know. Yes. Apparel, it means cloth. Luminous means bright. So here are the key points. You please try to understand. Govinda Maharana was a 61-year-old and his family comprised of his wife and his 3 sons. The eldest son of Govinda Maharana was an irresponsible drifter. Okay, I have already explained the meaning of drifter. And his second son worked as a trainee in a paper mill. And Govinda's youngest son, Nakontar Pilamane, Ranju, showed promise of taking up the ancestral profession. Govinda presumed that the reason should be his giving a new design, eye-catching new apparel, or brushing the idol with the shades of luminous paints, attractive paints, okay, or even exorbitant charges, high expensive charges. So about the mysterious breaking of the image, Govinda Maharana came to the conclusion that there was some supernatural power doing it. So children, here are some comprehension questions that it will easy for you for the easy understanding of the story. So please, you just try to answer your question at your home. Okay. What was Govinda Maharana's trade? Idol making was Govinda Maharana's trade. What was the unhappy incident that kept bothering Govinda Maharana? The breaking of the trunk of Ganesha was the unhappy incident that kept bothering Govinda Maharana. Next question, why did the glass of tea slip from Govinda Maharana's hand? The glass of tea slipped from Govinda Maharana's hand because, yes, his fingers suddenly slackened. Next question you can see, what idols did Govinda Maharana make? Govinda Maharana made idols of Durga, Ganesha and Shiva. What according to Govinda Maharana did he meddle with? Answer, according to Govinda Maharana, he meddled with the private lives of a god. Okay, children. So, next slide, Ramijba, dekhiba. Some questions are more here. What thoughts did come to Sulochana's mind when the trunk broke again on the 3rd day? Let's attend the answer. When the trunk broke again on the 3rd day, Sulochana's mind was disturbed with some bad thoughts. Okay, children. She looked at her husband with a panic-stricken eyes because she was in a kind of state of fear. It could be because her husband was growing older and his hands and eyesight had become weaker. What was a little heavier and a trifle longer? The trunk of idol of Ganesha was a little heavier and trifle longer. Next question, see. What did Govinda Maharana doubt about the clay he used for making the idol of Ganesha? About the clay used for making the idol of Ganesha, Govinda Maharana doubted that it had measure short of its adhesive quality. Why didn't Sulochana want to question her husband about his work? Yes, Pilamane, try to answer it. Sulochana didn't want to question her husband about his work because she knew that her husband was one of the best image makers in that particular whole valley. Okay, got my point? Okay. How old was Govinda Maharana and who were there in his family? Govinda Maharana was a 61-year-old. His family comprised of his wife and 3 sons. Okay, children. Next question. Who was an irresponsible drifter from all the sons? From his 3 sons, the eldest son of Govinda Maharana was an irresponsible drifter. Then next question. Where did Govinda Maharana's second son work? Govinda Maharana's second son worked as an trainee. I said, means your apprentice in a paper mill. Next question. Who showed promise of taking up Govinda Maharana's ancestral profession? Yes, answer will be what? Govinda Maharana's youngest son Ranju showed promise of taking up his ancestral profession. Then, this is the last question for this part of your story, children. Let's have a look. List the changes that had come in designing of the day figures. Some subtle changes had been effected by Govinda Maharana in the designing of the clay figures. They were clothing the clay images with new apparel, decorating with bright colored paints, and particularly making the goddess with a slim and curved bodies. So children, these are the questions, short and very brief questions that I have selected from this text. That answer will help you to understand the text and to memorize the text. So children, this is enough for today and this is the first part of your story. Very soon we will again meet by taking the next part of this story. Thank you very much.